Hello class. Today we are going to talk about consumer observation and why do we do the consumer observation study and why it is so relevant and important to study today's consumers, alright? And on this Thursday, I'm going to go deeply to let you know, introduce about consumer observation techniques, some techniques, and I have selected series of techniques and I'm going to go deeper into two of them. One is called wardrobe study and the second one is accompanied shopping, and these two techniques is going to be used for your second assignment, which is due a week 6. Okay, and your first assignment, your individual assignment, consumer profiling, the first step is due today. So if you forgot to submit your article, submit your essay, and you're gonna find the folder on the Y-Stack to submit your assignment. And I have accidentally made the size limit on this Y-Stack submission tool, so I have made some modification for you to upload without worrying about the file size, and it is accessible right now. Okay, so for some students who was struggling uploading your assignment on the YSEC, please excuse me. I really apologize. Okay, and you can also see the link for the Zoom meeting for today's class. And if you have any questions while listening to this YouTube video, you can come to me, come to the Zoom meeting. I'll be waiting for you and you'll be talk to me about this course material as well as your reading and your assignment. Okay, so please come at any time during the class time. I'll be waiting there, waiting for you. Okay, so we have talked pretty much about the functions of the clothing and why we wear clothes and the meanings, symbolic meanings of the clothes as well. Okay, so clothing is a way to show who you are. It is say something about your personality, and it is showing some parts of your personality, and it has also used psychologically to protect or to hide some parts of your personality as well. So we have talked about the dualism, presentation of your clothes and presenting your personality through the medium of clothes. Okay, and it is also wearing clothes is a way to communicate yourself with the word, and means it literally has the social value as well. Yes, so we have talked pretty much about yourself and your personality. Now next week we're gonna go further into the social values and the social influences and your social self theories, and we're gonna go deeper about the social meaning of your clothing selection. Before we do that, we are gonna go to discuss about the meanings of the clothing and what might be how your clothes has been used to express yourself and to communicate yourself with society. The famous fashion scholar we have talked about when we are talking about the definition of fashion, and she has mentioned that clothes is defined as the bridge between you and the environment. So practically it is between you and your environment. Okay, so practically it is the bridge between you and your environment, but psychologically it is something, the medium, which is protecting you and it is hiding you somehow, and it is presenting you the way you are. And nowadays we are having many mindful kind of consumers who are considering and caring much about the environment, and in that way practically it certainly has a social value to express your ideas and your beliefs to the world, and it is something that is making a statement of what you are caring the most nowadays, and it is not just about expressing who you are, but it is about who what you believe and what you strongly pursue. Okay, it is about your lifetime value. Okay, so we're gonna go deeper why we are studying observation and how we are implementing this consumer observation technique to discuss more about somebody's clothing behavior. All right. Okay, let me briefly introduce the evolution of consumer study. The consumer study method has been evolved. That means it has been changed with the change of the market and the change of the era and the change of the spirit of the times that has been shared by the community members and the members of the society. Okay, so it has been changed throughout the times. You can see the values of your grandma's generation in your mother's generation here, and you can see the generation today's generation in your generation are considering the most. Okay, so the society has been individualized, and we have several industrial revolutions yet to meet the individual satisfactions of the end users. All right, so where the market has been changed and the people's mind has been changed, so consumer study to discuss and explore about consumer behavior has been changed throughout the times. Okay, so now we are considering much about the symbolic values and the social values rather than the class-oriented consumption or luxury consumption that has been importantly considered. We have talked pretty much about the 19th century's Paris and the people who are living in the older generation are perceiving a much important values on the social status and their cultural capital, and those symbolic values has been neglected pretty much by the younger generation, and because they are pursuing something else. Okay, so what might be the answer for the future society? So here they're calling about the values and the culture community values and what kind of a community or the groups of collectives what you want to involve in. So you can choose your groups and you can choose your culture market. So you can specify, you will have your own taste, and you are gonna have your collectives to share what you pursue and what you think importantly. Okay, so the information, much more and deeper kind of information has been considered like relevant for today's consumers. So they'd like to know more about those the material or the object of your clothing. So you'd like to see and look into what is behind what is shown on your closet, what might be the historical or hidden or symbolic kind of meanings. You'd like to go further to know more about what you like. Okay, so they'd like to pursue their taste and their likes, and they'd like to know more meanings, and they're gonna continuously add new meanings on their material and their clothes as well. So on those stages, the consumer study should be like shifted their point of view to see the mass market, to like distribute the surveys to the mass audience, but they'd like to listen to the individuals different stories to satisfy their specific individual personalized needs. Okay, so they'd like to go deeper to explore their behavior. That means they're gonna go to observe how they behave, to find the clues to answer, to ask questions, to know better about their behavior itself and their selection and their meanings of the clothes by listening to their opinions after all right. Okay, so there are many ways to study consumer behaviors. Okay, but I'd like to ask you one important question. Are you interested in your consumers' behaviors itself or their opinions? Okay, right. So I believe our final goal is to listen to what they want and to satisfy their needs. So that is our final purpose, to listen to their opinions about discussing their behaviors. So their behaviors itself is not telling pretty much about their motivations and their attitudes and their beliefs about their behavior itself, but we want to listen to their opinions. But in case we're asking, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? But in that case, if you're not asking the relevant question to your consumers, that means if you are not asking the relevant, that means that is important to your consumer. In that case, you're wasting your time and your consumer might be bored and they're gonna answer just if they're not interested in that topics or that products or the services or that issues or the events. If they're not interested at all, in that case they cannot answer your questions. Okay, so that is why we're taking this bottom up approach to observe your consumers, to catch, to witness what they want and what they really need on their consumption process and while they're choosing their clothes. So it is your role. On the first process, we have taken our roles as designers or retailers, creators, and the journalist, and any roles that you might think of. You are taking very professional position to observe your consumer or yourself and to witness what their hidden and basic needs that they don't even know or they don't even recognize that they are having certain values and they're believing a certain ideas about fashion selection. So you're gonna witness and observe what they do and what they perform and what they choose and what they don't choose, and those kind of categories that you might be able to analyze. Okay, so you are going to go deeper to observe their very satisfying moments or enjoyable moments or the happiest moments while they're doing shopping, and you're going to observe what they care the most while they're doing their fashion selection, and while you are observing their wardrobe itself, their closet itself, and you are gonna go deeper why they are putting those values, symbolic values, on their fashion selection and the wardrobe collections as well. And then you're gonna see or witness the difficulties or the complaints they might have on their consumption journey. Okay, so you're gonna observe their whole process of clothing consumption and use of their clothes, and you're gonna witness what is missing on their consumption choices, and you're gonna take a bottom-up approach to develop your interview questions that might be interested in your consumers' point of view, and you are gonna get the sense how to personalize your goods or services to satisfy your end-use consumer, right? So if you see on the graph here, we are observing the behavior the most. So can the relevant behavior be observed naturally? That means you can access their wardrobe, or you can go shopping with her or him or yourself. In that way, that is okay if you get their permission, that's okay. So you're gonna go ahead and do some practice of consumer observation and write some notes of what is exceptional or typical about their consumption behavior. Okay, and then if it is not possible to witness any kind of interesting points that you can find from their behavior, in that case you're gonna go over to make some experiments. Okay, so that is the way to know better about their values and their selections and their choices. So you're gonna go deeper to better understand about their choice and their selection. So in that way, on the next following weeks, we're gonna go deeper about how to do the psychological experiments to get their ideas, like hidden ideas, to know better about their consumption behavior and choices, and then you are gonna find some answers. You're gonna come up with some ideas to develop your interview questions, to finally ask your consumers to say deeply about their opinions on certain issues and the certain consumption practice that they're now they are involved in. All right, so what is important here is we're taking the bottom-up approach to listen to their deep opinions. We're gonna go first. That is the first step, to observe what is missing and what is the most important part on their consumption choice. So you're gonna have your chance to directly observe how they make fashion consumption choices. All right. Okay, let me take a look at some examples of consumer observation study, searching for the hidden needs of consumers, individual consumers. All right, so let me briefly introduce some example cases of consumer study that has been conducted by Dr. Martin Lindstrom. Dr. Martin Lindstrom is very famous consultant of major industries. So he gave them advice to know deeper and better about their consumers and their hidden needs. Okay, so he had did some consumer observation cases. Actually, he spent time with 2,000 individual consumers and visited their home to observe what is happening, how they behave, and what is the hidden motivations of their behavior. So the natural site of their where they live and how they behave, like their home, when the consumer feel the most comfortable, and he had visited their homes to know better about their hidden needs. Okay, so through the study of human psyche, so he had adapted some psychological theories to understand better about human self-conscious kind of hidden needs and their minds, and how it plays a major role in deciding what the consumers will make their choice to buy something. And that was a kind of essay writing about his observation about individual consumers. Okay, so let me introduce a couple of cases of his observational study. One example case is the Legos case. Lego was really struggling like 10 years ago. It was really struggling because lots of computer games and many much more interesting plays that teenagers could spend their time with. So the sales of the Lego has been decreased pretty much, and Lego started to do some research, distributed their questionnaires to ask their consumers, like hundred thousands of their consumers, to say that how much time would you like to spend to build a castle with Lego. Their answer they got from hundreds of thousands of consumers were half an hour. Okay. So the consumers want quick and easy, like very simple, a kind of module of Lego to build their castle. So they started to make it even even more simple and easier to make. But their sales decreased pretty much, like 30% of sales. Their sales decreased, and they're just about to bankrupt. Okay, so what Dr. Lindstrom, the famous consultant, has participated doing their research, and the study method that he chose was consumer observation. Okay, so he decided to observe their consumers, like their younger consumers' home, to visit their home and to observe them. So to look for their hidden needs and what they really want. Okay, so visited hundreds, thousands of the consumers' home, and finally got the clue. Okay, so it was a very accidental kind of hint, clues that he found from one individual consumer was he was sitting in the living room of one 11-year-old German boy's home, sitting on the carpet, and asked him one single question. Okay, what are you most proud of? Okay, so the kid pointed an old, worn down pair of sneakers of him and high up on the shelf, and it was presented as a presentation of his creation and his material. And it's an old, worn down pair of sneakers, and you can see it has been worn down because he spent his time and energy practicing skateboarding wearing those sneakers. So the sneakers, the material itself is telling pretty much about he is a kind of the best skateboarder in town, and I can prove it with these sneakers, and the angles and the torn out angles show that I'm number one. Okay, so that was the material, the clothing piece, like their shoes, are placed in his home. So if you cannot have a chance to visit his home and to ask the question, what is the most are you the most proud of, or any clothing piece or accessories of any materials that he has presented in his house, in his home, is telling pretty much about his story and his symbolic meanings put on his material. Okay, so that was the birth of Lego's micro blocks. Okay, so the tiny micro blocks, so people should spend their time and energy and their efforts to create some articles, to create some material, their creation. So that was the significant kind of change in the marketing strategy of the Lego, the industry Lego, and that was a very kind of influential findings that Dr. Lindstrom he found from this observational study, like visiting their home and find what is the most important article that has been presented in your home. And that was the kind of a long and tedious kind of a consumer study method. But finally, he could find a clue that what is the most meaningful kind of plays and the games that a younger generation in their teenager or preteens could give some values and the meanings on their creation. So that was the time and efforts, and the creation itself told pretty much about what they care. Okay, so the storytelling and encouraging consumers to invest time and energy could be the Legos, the follow following their strategy, and that was really successful. So Dr. Lindstrom pointed out the consumer observation study could tell something about the hidden needs of consumers, right? Okay, another example case of Dr. Lindstrom's observation study is the case of Teleweasel. Okay, Teleweasel is Swiss fashion brand, a fast fashion brand actually, and that was pretty popular 10 years ago, and now it is still popular. But in the year of 2012, it was having difficulties, like sales decreased, and they didn't know what happened and what their consumers really want. So they distributed their questionnaire asking, what do you want? What might be the better goods or services to satisfy you? And the consumer's answer, like teenager girls' answer, was, it is too expensive. Okay, so we want discounts. So that was their opinion, and it was they're not telling lies. They just telling what they believe and what they want. Teleweasel started to have more discount and more discount, more than 50% discount, but they could not solve their problems. This is the point where Dr. Lindstrom came in to do this observation study to see the consumer's hidden needs. So what he did was he visited the teenager girl's house, and because Dr. Lindstrom was a man, so it was really hard, and girl's room and girl's home is very personal, you know. And what he did for this observation study was he asked teenager girls to compose a month-long video diary. Okay, so they videotape themselves, what they do, how they spend their times. Okay, so what was on their minds. So they just briefly telling, just like they are writing their diary. So they have recorded what's in their mind while they're spending time at home and talking with their friends and what they care, and all the observational like videos has been auto taped by the girls. And what he found was he realized that girls spend as long as 2 hours every morning in the morning. Like they get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and coordinating outfits with their friends. So they constantly sending the images of their outfit, and they'd like to share how it looks, and they're asking what you're going to wear for school for today, and they have shared their ideas, and they got the feedbacks from each other, and they were asking for some advices and the social approval before committing to an outfit. So that was the clue. So Dr. Lindstrom suggested their strategy to have the environment, like homey like environment, to spend their times to discuss with their friends about their outfits. So that was the starting point of retail therapy. Okay, so the retail space itself and the fitting room itself. So the Teleweasel created their fitting room and labeled their fitting room as the attic, and they have served some delicious foods like cookies and the drinks for the teenagers to spend your time, like 2 hours, 3 hours. You can spend your time, and you can get access to communicate your friends. And they made their attic, like their fitting room, is roomy enough to 2 or 3 girls can get in at the same time. So that was the place that for the the teenage girls to spend their times in there, and that was the way to keep their consumers, to bring their consumers in the store and spend their time. That means they could have a possibility to make a purchase. So that was quite a starting point of the retail therapy and the retail experiences. Now it is still relevant for today's retail environment as well. Another example that industry is using their retail environment as an observation lab to observe their consumers, how they behave. So they are inviting their consumers to their lab that they have established, like huge retail environment, which is full of interesting parts and interesting points that could attract their consumers. So they invite their consumers and observe how they behave. So on which part, on what consumers see for the first before they came in to their store and their retail environment, and where consumers stop and where they spend their times by placing many of different stimuli like books, and they have series of the cooking devices and the cooking ingredients and the selections of those materials, as well as the information associated with it. And they like to understand better about what consumers' hidden needs are embedded, and it could also be shown by their observation. So consumer cannot realize and report and identify their needs, just as the television consumers could not tell that they want better retail environment, but they were telling that I want discount. But the real thing was they could not recognize that they are having a more kind of hidden needs they want from their retail experiences. Okay, so this is what Hyundai Card Cooking Library is taking their perspectives. They're saying that the big data analysis is over. Now we need to observe consumer behavior to create the environment to uncover the consumer's unmet needs. Okay, so they observe ideas and the improvement points, how to improve the consumer's experience more pleasant and more interesting to attract their consumers to be involved in. And so they are constantly watching with their cameras placed on this lab, and the helping staffs who are helping consumers to direct this way and that way, and they are continuously observing consumer behavior to see their unmet needs, right? With the advent of new technology, a lot of fashion industries are looking at you. They're observing your facial expression while you're making your purchase, or while you're doing your shopping online, or you're doing your mobile shopping. You have a camera in front of you, and if you just select or accidentally click on I agree to submit my data for you, to help you to make better services, and in that case they can access your camera to scan your face and how much you're satisfied or unsatisfied on certain on looking at certain garments that your consideration to make a purchase. So IBM said that they can predict about 85% of accuracy, and to get they can make the prediction that you're going to make a purchase or not by just watching your facial expression. Okay, so that is called emotion recognition technology. So this emotion recognition technology analysis analyze your facial expressions and emotion through AI cameras, and they can see that they can predict your future behavior. But the important point here is they know they are angry. You are angry by watching your facial expression, but they don't know why you're angry. Okay, so this is where the deeper consumer observation followed by the interview is necessary. So this is a necessary step to profiling, to make a profiles for your consumers, and on which values they pursue, they are having those kind of emotions, those kind of different kind of emotions. So you're gonna go deeper to understand better about their behavior and their hidden kind of motivations to behave in certain way and that way. So the observation is the first kind of step to understand better about their behaviors. Okay, so the fast fashion brands like Zara, they have big data because they have big like huge kind of market by themselves. They have thousands of locations of the stores, and they have thousands of consumers. So they have used for a long time used their camera located on the retail space to see, to watch that you are gonna make a selection, you're gonna make considerations. So you pick up one clothes, you take this way and that way, and you just hanging back on the shelf. In that case, you decided not to purchase. So in that case, that records cannot be analyzed by the interview or surveys, but that is telling pretty much about your consumption values and why consumers not to make a purchase on certain garment, on certain clothes. So those kind of observation activities that has been like widely used by the fashion industry is telling pretty much about consumer behavior. So they are following their rules to observe consumers this way to that way to better understand about their behaviors. So what you're going to do is observation study. You're going to observe their closet, their home, their wardrobe, if they agree, if they let you in to their personal room to observe their collections. That is the best. And if you cannot see their wardrobe, that is okay. So we're gonna go shopping and put more focus on the accompanied shopping. You're gonna go shop together. You can go to the practical shopping scene, like here you can go practically, you can go shopping like offline shopping with, or you can observe their online shopping behavior and on which site they start to make their plan to make a purchase of their clothes, and you're gonna observe this way and that way, and all the process, all the journey of their consumption and the purchase behavior. You're gonna record where they visit, where they spend time, and what they see, and what they consider to make a purchase, or they suddenly change it their mind and go back, and you're gonna deeply observe the every steps of their behavior. So this is your the essay writing again to observe their shopping behavior. Okay, all right. So you're gonna first of all, you're gonna it is the best if you can observe their wardrobe, and then you're gonna see or witness their hidden motivation to purchase certain clothing, and then if you cannot see their wardrobe, like if they don't let you in that case, you are gonna ask them to take a picture of their wardrobes to see what they have ready, and what is the interesting part you witness on their wardrobe, and what is the kind of like eye-catching kind of item, just as the 11-year-old boy's sneakers, like worn out sneakers. So you're gonna ask about some material or clothing pieces they consider important or meaningful. So you're gonna find the meanings they have put on their wardrobe and the clothing pieces, and then you're gonna go shopping with them to observe more about their shopping behavior and their hidden needs. All right, so on the next class on this coming Thursday, what we're going to do is we're gonna study how to do the wardrobe study, and we're gonna see some techniques and examples of wardrobe study, and then we are gonna see how to do the accompanied shopping, and I'm gonna see you some cases and examples and the techniques how you're gonna do the accompanied shopping. You're gonna go shopping with your consumer and to observe on which part and specifically, and we're gonna discuss about that, and then we're gonna go deeper to better understand the consumer behavior by discussing some theories which is related to consumer observation study. Okay, so we're gonna see the theory of material culture. The material of your clothes is saying something about the historical meanings and cultural meanings and your symbolic meanings that you put on your clothes, and we're gonna discuss the material culture of clothing. For example, the fabric and the color use and the decorative motifs or your clothing can communicate about some messages of the wearer, as well as your relationship, your communication with yourself, with the society. So we're gonna go deeper to discuss the social values embedded on your clothing as well. So on that case, for the deeper understanding, we're gonna discuss the social self theory. We have talked pretty much about yourself and your personality and identity, and now we are going to go further to discuss about the social self theory, how you're communicating yourself with the society. All right, so you're going to see the examples of the communication of the self through the clothing, and I'm going to show you some example to do the observation study for your second assignment overall. You have a reading assignment which is titled Clothing Style Confidence, and this article is talking pretty much about the personal style and how to find and how to let your consumer know about their personal style to better use of their wardrobe and for the future selections of their wardrobe and their future purchasing behavior. All right, and this article is discussing pretty much about the methodology and the scale development and many ways to make the scales overall. So this is very like profound kind of exploratory kind of study, and it is discussing pretty much about the scale development, but that part is not this course is gonna discuss, and this course is not meeting the objectives of this course. So please skip those part when they are talking about the validity or reliability of the scale, and you have no idea what they're talking about, and you don't have to know pretty much about this part, because that is the graduate level to discuss about the how to make the scales, the questions itself, which is too difficult for us and for this course. So we are going to pay attention to the introduction part and the discussion part and some terms and the and the concepts that they're talking about, the personal style and the wardrobe and the clothing selection, and those part we're gonna briefly talk about how to better understand about the personal style and how style is different from fashion, and how your personal style could eventually talk about yourself and your relationship with the society. Okay, so you have reading assignment, but it is very very difficult kind of reading, so try to skim through what this article is talking about, and I'm gonna introduce some terms that has been discussed on this article, and it is making very like important points to better understand about future consumer behavior. So we're gonna discuss about that next class. Okay, all right. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on this Thursday.